The iPhone 12 mini, the product line that might end with the iPhone 13 mini this year, is one of my favorite iPhones since the iPhone 5. Sure, the iPhone 13 Pro has been amazing, but the iPhone 12 mini was one of my favorite builds because of the refreshing compact design. But what about now? People complained about the battery at launch, and now that it's almost 2 years old, it's probably worse, right? Today we're going to find out and see if the iPhone 12 mini is still worth buying in 2022. Hello everyone, this is Matt from Real World Review. Check out the socials listed above later. For now, let's get started. Like the size, the screen is small. This is a flat 5.4 inch 1080p OLED display that has the highest pixel per inch on any iPhone, 476 pixels per inch. This is an HDR display moving from 625 nits to 1200 nits depending on SDR or HDR content, giving us a decent amount of brightness regardless. Moving from the iPhone 13 Pro, I can see the screen is a little bit dimmer, but it's very minimal. Enough that you probably won't notice the difference unless you have it side by side. We get this notch. It is what it is. And yes, some of the video does move into the notch, unfortunately. But that's only if you're viewing content that's not 16:9, like my videos. But after all, this is a Super Retina XDR display, something that doesn't seem like much, but the OLED display is something I wanted in a cheaper Apple phone for a very long time. Images and video look spectacular, as you would expect, but wide shots do feel weird on this small screen. It is only 60Hz, but only two iPhones can go up to 120Hz, and this applies to none of the 12 series. We get the ceramic shield, but like I always say, it still scratches, and it still breaks. I personally don't have any issues with the screen. Can it be bigger? Yeah, but screen size is not what matters in the Mini. It allows for a nice looking screen in a small format, and I think Apple did a really good job in that. I mean, look at the iPhone SE. As for the hardware, we get some top tier specs. Like I said, ceramic shield on the screen, but that also applies to the back. But again, they do all break. Then in the middle, we do have the same type of aluminum frame found in the iPhone 12, which dents easily but holds up pretty well. The weight and size allows for a super light 135 grams, which is a little under the iPhone 6s weight. The left side gives us the volume and mute switches, while the right side gives us a big side button, allowing for Siri and powering off the phone with the help of a volume button. The top has nothing, while the bottom gives you two microphone holes, the lightning port, and the second loudspeaker, which pairs to the top one to give us a stereo feel. Moving inside, we get the Apple-made A14 Bionic chip, which is the same in all the other 12 series, unlike what they did with the 13 series. This comes with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of base storage, going up to 256GB. For basic tasks, the phone flies through everything, and even gaming is spectacular, with only a 10% slower GPU on paper compared to the iPhone 13 series, while real tests show pretty much no difference at all. This is all powered by iOS 15, which gets updated every year, something we should expect for at least another 5 years. This is all powered by the infamous 2227 mAh battery, which surprisingly lasts all day. Now look, my battery health is at 95%, charge cycle count being 75 at the time of this recording. My iPhone 13 Pro has a larger battery with a more efficient processor, and that's at 100%, cycle count being 125. Now here's the whole spreadsheet, as well as the cycle count and battery health percentage that I started at. Same settings for both phones, max 5G, max brightness, etc. Either way, these are the stats that I got. Let's remember the 11.97 watt-hour battery in the iPhone 13 Pro is larger than the 8.57 watt-hour battery in the iPhone 12 mini. Overall, we averaged 3.79 minutes on the iPhone 13 Pro and 3.35 minutes on the iPhone 12 mini when we're talking about screen usage per 1%, which adds up to be 44 minutes more on average for the iPhone 13 Pro. The thing is, the iPhone 13 Pro shows about 12% better screen on time, but the battery is actually 28% larger than the iPhone 12 mini. So stop listening to people that don't track their stats or don't even use a mini iPhone. This battery is actually pretty good, and a little bit better than it used to be thanks to software updates and Apple understanding that there are ways to make batteries last a little bit longer. After doing this 5-day test, I'm not too happy about my iPhone 13 Pro's battery. As for charging, we're allowed to do that through the lightning port on the bottom, maxing out at about 20 watts, while wireless charging gives us 7.5 watts, or 12 watts if you use the MagSafe puck. Expect either to take about an hour and a half to 2 hours for a full charge. Overall, a nice little package that packs a little bit more power than people expect. Of course, the cameras are a big deal, but the main questions I get are these. Do I need a telephoto camera? Does the video look good? And for me, both answers are yes. On the rear, we get two 12 megapixel sensors, one being a wide with optical image stabilization, while the other is an ultra-wide sensor. All in all, amazing still photos, whether it's day or night. As for video, it's really good, and kind of disappointing for only a few people. I often use this 4K 60 frames per second video camera for some shots that I can't do with my iPhone 13 Pro, so it's definitely a well-rounded sensor. It can shoot HDR up to 4K 30 frames per second, while HDR in 4K 60 is left for the Pro series as well as the 13 series. It's not a deal breaker for me because I don't even edit in HDR yet. Still, absolutely amazing shots in video, but lacking a telephoto sensor is a little bit annoying when you're coming from a phone that either has both or all three sensors. But let me show you some photos and videos with some music, so you can be the judge. The front camera is good. It is a 12 megapixel sensor as well, with no optical image stabilization or focusing, which is pretty standard. Of course, in Apple fashion, shots look amazing, but for me, the lack of focus is not really enough. Especially seeing that Samsung has been doing focusable front cameras since the Samsung S8. As for video, we get the same thing. HDR at 4K 30 frames per second, and normal video maxes out at 4K 60 frames per second. These sensors are amazing, but for someone like me, it leaves me sometimes wanting more. Personally, I feel like this is the best choice in many ways. Starting with the size, this has nothing in its class. This phone will be 2 years old this year, and still, no other company has tried to fit a flagship phone into this form factor, often reaching 5.8 inch or 6.1 inch screened iPhone sizes. Even the Zenfone 8 is closer to the iPhone 12 rather than the 12 mini. That, mixed with the 135 gram weight, is just awesome to me. I know some people think that they could never with this size, but it reminds me of how it was using the, large at the time, iPhone 5 screen. And I don't think any of the iPhone SEs can match this feel. When compared to the iPhone 13 mini, there's not too many differences. Sure, we get the different and technically better camera setup with HDR support at 4K 60 frames per second video, but it isn't that much. Better battery life is a plus, along with the 128GB base. The screen is brighter, but again, it's not a huge difference in this form factor. Also, the iPhone 12 mini and 13 mini have the same water resistance, being IP68 dust and water resistant up to 6 meters for 30 minutes, or 20 feet. Then we mentioned the price, where the iPhone 13 mini starts in the mid 500s for used models, while the new and used models for the iPhone 12 minis hit the $300 range. My green one costing me $300 new about 4 months ago. This phone is a better design and use case when you compare it to even the new iPhone SE, especially when you find one under that $430 starting price. This phone gives you everything you want as well as premium specs, unlike the SE. All you need to do is get over the addiction of thinking that a larger screen is the answer to all your problems. I can tell you, as someone who went from the iPhone 11 Pro Max to the iPhone 12 mini, large screens aren't the one. Light phones are. In the end, pick what you want. Apple's lineup is awesome for that because they sell non-Pro 12s and all the iPhone 13s right now, so if you really wanted to, you can buy an iPhone 12 mini from Apple. So yes, you should consider buying the iPhone 12 mini. Just not from Apple. This phone is worth maybe $400, not $600. Personally, I would stick to Amazon Renewed or Swappa. For me, there's something nice about having a phone that feels almost weightless, but is still more than capable of completing major tasks that you throw at it. I'm going to enjoy this phone before Apple makes the dumb move and kills the Mini. And that's my review of the iPhone 12 mini, the most compact phone that you should buy on a budget. But what do you think? Talk about it in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching.